Thriving in frugality, Singaporeans pursuing the FIRE lifestyle. What if the life you're working so hard to afford is the very life keeping you from the moments that matter? More Singaporeans are asking this question, and it's leading them toward a lifestyle that challenges everything we were taught about money, success, and retirement. Singapore is a country often described as efficient, ambitious, forward-looking, and unrelentingly fast-paced. For decades, the path toward success felt almost predetermined. Study hard, get a stable job, climb the corporate ladder, buy a home, raise a family, work until your 60s, and then retire if you're fortunate enough to stay healthy. But something is shifting beneath the surface of this structured society. A quiet movement, driven by introspection, dissatisfaction, and a desire for autonomy, is beginning to redefine the way Singaporeans view money, work, and life itself. This movement is known as FIRE financial independence. Retire early. Originally popularized by Vicky Robin and Joe Dominguez in their influential book, Your Money or Your Life. FIRE emphasizes mindful frugality, long-term investing, and rethinking the value of time. While FIRE has gained traction in places like the United States and New Zealand, its rise in Singapore carries its own unique flavor, one influenced by high living costs, rigid work cultures, and an evolving understanding of what it means to live well. What makes the Singaporean FIRE story compelling is not just the financial mechanics behind it, but the deeply personal motivations driving people to pursue a different path. These motivations often come from loss, stress, burnout, cultural pressures, and the longing for a life that feels more meaningful. And each individual who steps onto the path of FIRE carries a story that reveals something about the changing aspirations of a younger generation. Belle and the turning point of grief. Belle never imagined that a funeral would change her perspective on life. As a teacher in her mid-30s, she's always been responsible, hardworking, and committed to her students. But when her grandmother passed away several years ago, Belle was confronted with a harsh reality. She could not attend the funeral because she didn't have enough compassionate leave. Later, when her uncle died, someone she was very close to, she couldn't attend his funeral either, because her workplace only granted leave for immediate family members. For most people, these restrictions look like just another policy. For Belle, they became symbols of something deeper, a life where she was not fully free, even when it mattered most. Her memories of visiting her grandmother in the hospital still linger. She would see other people rushing in during their short lunch breaks or after work hours, squeezing family moments into the tiny pockets of spare time that their jobs allowed. It revealed a truth she could no longer ignore. She was living a life dictated by schedules, rules, and obligations, not one built around what she truly valued. Belle began to imagine a different kind of life, one where she wasn't bound by her timetable, one where she could be there for the people she loved without needing permission. This desire for freedom led her directly to FIRE. She started investing when she was in her early 20s, giving her a head start. Her plan is bold: retire by 40. If she begins a family, she might delay this goal by 5 years, but the vision stays the same. To Belle, FIRE is not about escaping work. It is about having the autonomy to choose how she spends her time, especially as the eldest child responsible for aging parents with chronic conditions. If I have to quit my job to take care of them, I want to have the freedom and choice to do it, she often says. And for her, that freedom is worth the years of frugality she practices today. Belle's lifestyle is built around intentional consumption. Before buying anything, she asks herself a familiar checklist. Do I need this? Can I get it cheaper elsewhere? Is this a want or a necessity? Will it last long enough to be worth the price? Am I buying this because of hype or trend? Can I delay the purchase? Is this aligned with sustainability? Does it have good reviews? Shopping takes longer. The mental resistance is tiring, but every time she pauses before spending, she feels more in control of her money, her life, and her future. And perhaps without even intending to, she is already living the first stage of FIRE. Michelle and the courage to live differently. Michelle knows the sting of judgment all too well. In her 20s, she worked in the public service, rising to a managerial role. The stress was constant, the workload heavy, and the pressure suffocating. When she later moved into business consultancy in 2016, she promised herself she would never fall back into a life dictated by burnout. Her embrace of FIRE didn't originate from minimalism or a love for frugality. It came from necessity. She needed a way out of the corporate rat race. She needed a plan that would free her from feeling trapped. Michelle has felt people's assumptions. She must be poor. She's stingy. She's uptight. She's extreme. But the truth is simpler. She's intentional. She still enjoys meals out, but she prefers hawker centers over expensive cafes. She buys things that bring value, not status. She saves aggressively, but not at the cost of her health or well-being. She balances discipline with moderation. There's a danger of depriving yourself, like surviving on instant noodles to save money. That's unhealthy. FIRE is pointless if your physical or mental health suffers. Her plan is to retire by 50, a timeline shaped not only by ambition, but by the understanding that money is not the end goal, but the means to choices. What if my parents need medical attention someday? What if I want to move to New Zealand one day? I want the ability to say that I can afford it. To Michelle, FIRE is not about rejecting life. It is about choosing life, and she believes that some people misunderstand the movement, assuming it requires saving 70% of income or living extremely. Her frugal ethos allows room for generosity, meaningful experiences, and comforts, so long as they are intentional. FIRE, for her, is built on boundaries, balance, and the courage to live differently. Felicia and the reality of being asset rich, cash poor. Felicia is a civil servant in her early 30s who practices a different version of FIRE, influenced heavily by her family. She directed much of her early earnings into investments and real estate. Over time, she became what many Singaporeans are familiar with: asset rich, cash poor. Allocating her funds into long-term investments offers the promise of passive income dividends, rental earnings, and long-term value growth. But in the short term, cash flow becomes tight. She gives herself a strict budget: $500 a month for food, transport, and daily expenses. She enjoys living in the present, but constantly battles the anxiety of committing so much money to the future. She loves the idea of a purposeful retirement, doing voluntary work, contributing to nonprofit organizations, and connecting with communities. But she also struggles with the delayed gratification required to get there. Locking down my money for 10 or 15 years means I can't see my hard-earned money growing until then, she says, often with a sigh. But she believes the sacrifice is worth it because the future she envisions is one where she no longer works for survival. Felicia's story reveals the emotional toll and mental discipline required for FIRE, especially when pursuing it in a society where homeownership, investments, and expectations intersect tightly. Cal and the philosophy of money. Cal once believed that FIRE was something only extremely wealthy or lucky people could achieve. But everything changed when she met a man in his 40s who retired early thanks to investing early in life. He encouraged her to try, saying that she too could reach financial independence if she started now. This meeting sparked a transformation. Cal researched relentlessly, learned about FIRE, and began creating multiple streams of income. As a home-based business owner in her early 30s, she now believes she can retire by her 40s. This possibility fuels her. Some people think that saving $200 a month is pointless because it's too small. But if you're unfaithful with the little, you won't be faithful with the much. she explains. Her philosophy is built on simplicity. Every dollar counts, and every conscious decision shapes her future. She envisions a life where she works only 2 days a week, travels often, and lives overseas part-time. To her, FIRE is the gateway to flexibility, a lifestyle tailored around her passions. Cal's perspective highlights a crucial truth about FIRE. It is not about saving massive amounts immediately, but about consistency, clarity, and intentionality. The FIRE versus YOLO spectrum. Every person pursuing FIRE acknowledges one truth: not everyone wants or is able to follow this lifestyle. Singapore's high living costs, family obligations, and societal expectations make it challenging. And then there's the opposite philosophy: YOLO, you only live once. YOLO embraces living in the moment, spending freely, and prioritizing experiences over future savings. It's not wrong, just different. Some find joy in the present and don't mind working until 65 or 70. Others value security and autonomy. FIRE and YOLO exist on the same spectrum. The key is alignment, choosing what fits your values, not what society dictates. Austin, in The Financial Reality of Youth. Austin, a former teacher turned financial professional, has a unique vantage point. He has watched teenagers turn small investments in digital currencies into huge returns, sometimes 60-fold, and then spend the money recklessly on branded goods like Gucci shoes. When he meets his former students, he sees the YOLO mindset firsthand. If you don't treasure your wealth, it's going to go downhill someday, he warns them. But he also recognizes that digital currencies and NFTs are here to stay. Investment opportunities are evolving, but financial responsibility remains essential. How one treats their returns, wisely or recklessly, will determine their future. Austin's story reflects the generational tension between instant gratification and long-term planning. It mirrors the broader global shift where the young face immense pressure, yet have unprecedented access to risky investment options. Privilege, generational experiences, and the complexity of FIRE. Michelle often reflects on privilege, aware that not everyone is born with the same opportunities. The ability to pursue FIRE is itself a privilege. High earning power, lower family burdens, or early investment opportunities can dramatically increase one's chances of success. She says, "If I were born in a place without access to education, or if my family had debt, things would be very different." Similarly, Beale acknowledges how her past shaped her relationship with money. She and her fiancé grew up watching their parents struggle financially. Those memories of lack influenced their adult decisions. Fear of scarcity often transforms into discipline and preparedness. FIRE is not merely financial lit, is emotional, psychological, and deeply personal. Redefining retirement and the future of work. Across all these stories, one common thread emerges: a desire for choice. Some Singaporeans don't want to retire early because they love their jobs. Some thrive at work and find meaning in their career paths. Others want the option to leave if a job becomes toxic. The key is having the choice. FIRE doesn't dictate that everyone must quit work at 40, it simply offers an alternative. Life where work becomes optional, not obligatory. In the modern world where burnout is rampant, career paths are unstable, and personal values are shifting, FIRE offers something priceless: freedom.